Nirbhaya, fearless, a word that is burnt into India's collective consciousness because of what happened in Delhi on a cold December night 5 years ago. But are India's women fearless? Brave, yes. Cautious, yes. Practical, yes. But not fearless, because 5 years after Nirbhaya, Delhi is still no city for a woman on her own. Zeba Warsi reports.
December 16, 2012. A night that woke up the collective conscience of the nation. A 21-year-old medical student was brutally gang-raped in the national capital. The incident made us all sit up and take note of how dangerous Delhi is for women. Thousands took to the streets demanding women's safety. 5 years on, have those demands materialized into change? CNN-News18 conducted a status check of Delhi's darkest spots. How safe does a woman feel in the capital city? The road next to the main university campus is an unsafe zone. Female students tell us they avoid walking here unaccompanied.
Recently, some mobile snatchings have taken place here. It is unsafe for girls, less street lights and all.
Less than 100 meters away from a reputed educational institution, we are on this particular stretch, which students, especially female students, have to take to reach their PG and hostel accommodations. And as you can see, this particular road is devoid of any CCTV camera. In fact, many street lights on this road are not functioning, making this feel like an unsafe zone. In fact, students have told me that this road is notorious for chain snatching and thieves which do the round, and making this an unsafe stretch, one of the most unsafe zones in this locality. There need to be adequate street lights, there needs to be adequate police patrolling, and CCTV cameras need to be installed.
This bridge looks straight out of a stalking nightmare. A long stretch like this has been left unguarded.
It's 10:30 p.m. on the clock, and I'm at the bridge which connects Anand Vihar metro station to Anand Vihar railway station. And this long connecting bridge has not a single police personnel guarding it. In fact, there is not even one CCTV camera installed here, and this entire long stretch of bridge is left unguarded. In fact, some of the street lights are also not functioning. As a woman who's traveling via Anand Vihar metro, and if I have to take this bridge, I feel unsafe at 10 o'clock. What happens later in the night when it becomes even more deserted?
Our next stop is near Saket, an eerie silence, an uncomfortable vibe.
We are near the Garden of Five Senses in Saket, and this is yet another unsafe zone that CNN-News18 has identified. In fact, if I can just show you this particular stretch of road, as you can see, not only is it dark, but it's also deserted. In fact, there are very few street lights, few and far in between. There are no CCTV cameras, and what is most unsettling about this particular stretch of road is that we did not see a single police officer patrolling this stretch. We did not spot a single PCR van taking the rounds here. And if I was unaccompanied tonight, I would feel unsafe to walk, to travel by this particular stretch of road. It's an unsafe zone that we've identified.
So for women in the national capital, not much has changed in the last 5 years. Despite the protests, the candlelight vigils, the blaring newspaper headlines. And after the crime, women who want to fight back face another trauma in the courts. Our reporter Revati Rajivan on how in our legal system it's the woman who's almost always the loser.
3 years ago, in a busy street like this in Kochi city, I was groped. It is no shocking incident, but I was angry. I decided to take the man to the police. But when the case came up for its first hearing, it was after 2 years after the incident. By then I had moved out of the city, which means that I had to travel hundreds of kilometers every time there was a hearing. This is not just my story, but the story of every woman who steps out of her house to commute to work. And rarely, if ever, do women get justice.
Vandana Supriya was at a park near her house in Bengaluru when a man flashed his private parts at her in May 2014. It was around 8 p.m. that day. She was seated on a pavement when a 40-year-old man unzipped his pants and flashed at her. She chased him and handed him over to the police, but for 3 years now, she's been attending court hearings every month.
I'm a dancer. I also have my busy schedule. I travel, I perform, and keeping that. And it has been difficult for me, but I've been doing it. I know this is my priority because I've been fighting for it. But again, when the court system is so slow, somewhere you feel like giving up.
Although the number of rape cases in Bengaluru have remained steady for the last 5 years, there has been a steep increase in cases under the protection of children from sexual offences and molestation. However, the conviction rate across these years for all the three offences have been almost nil. Conviction in molestation cases has been less than 1% for 6 years now. Most cases post-2015 are still under trial or under investigation, reiterating the snail-paced justice system in the country.
Any form of sexual violence and reporting of this itself is a big challenge. And if at all a complaint is lodged and an FIR is made and a charge sheet is framed, what happens in court is a totally different challenge again altogether. One is, by the time it comes up in court, it is almost 2 years, minimum 2 years. In India, we know that there is neither witness nor victim protection. And over here, by the time the argument stage comes, the victim is already being intimidated, is being threatened, is also being talked about.
How many of us know women who have quit jobs and moved cities only to avoid a stalker? Women who are told by families not to pursue a kid only because they fear the predator. It may seem like an easier option than seeking justice. But remember, each time we silence a victim's voice, we are only moving backwards as a society. JP Rajavan in Bengaluru for CNN News 18.
It's not simply a question of the last 5 years. It's not just about how much the December 16th gang rape case shook up the system. India is changing. Our cities, our society, our world is changing. The question is, are women being left behind? Neetu Raghukumar reports now from Thiruvananthapuram.
It's 9 p.m. and we are at Srikaryam Junction in Thiruvananthapuram, hardly 5 kilometers away from Technopark, the IT hub of the city. One look around this place, we can hardly see any women on the streets. Women in other cities might be getting ready to go out for a dinner or have some great time with friends. This is what we are seeing in the capital city of Kerala. Women say that this is one major problem that keeps them away from venturing out at night, as they feel really unsafe and uncomfortable when they walk on deserted streets like this. And we are at PMG Junction in Thiruvananthapuram. We travelled for about 8 kilometers from Srikaryam to PMG, and in this stretch we could spot only about 8 women, and of which 7 of them were with their families. Let's meet Maggie Vaibi, an IT professional working at Technopark. Her job needs her to stay back late at night and attend to her duties. She commutes in a two-wheeler almost 25 kilometers one side on a daily basis. How do you see the streets of Trivandrum? Do you feel any safe? What is it that you see right now when you venture out at night?
After 8 to 9, it's not at all safe for women traveling to the roads in Trivandrum. I'm ride to home alone. So every time I try to reach home before 8:30.
After 7 you can't find any single lady in the roads.
It's not a tale of one woman, but many who want to venture out at night for their work and even to have a good time with friends, but are scared to do so due to the condition on the streets.
I don't feel fully safe. I don't think that any woman can say that they feel safe throughout India. If you see the road, it's deserted here. I get scared. Okay, if something happens, what is the first thing that anyone is going to say? They'll say, okay, why did she go out alone at night?
Personally, I do feel a little scared because the streets are quite dark here. The street lights are not on most of the time, and so we're always in groups of 2 minimum. And we always travel also together.
Women's safety does not mean locking them up at homes after sunset. Women have the right to be out at night and be a part of the society. Only when more and more women are out on the streets at night, we can feel safer.
Currently, India has only 3 women chief ministers. One of them, Mamata Banerjee, has been aggressively promoting her state as an investment destination. CNN-News18's Prema Rajaram spoke to working women in Kolkata to see if they felt safe in Didi's Bengal.
Calcutta is relatively a safe city, yet there are safety concerns when it comes to women in the city, especially a place like the IT sector in Rajarhat or even Salt Lake. While it is buzzing with activity because of the BPOs that are here and offices that work late, yet when transport issues are a concern. We have some ladies here with us who are working in the offices in Salt Lake. Let me come to you first. Have you ever felt unsafe when it comes to, say, transport, and what are your concerns?
I Uber all the time and it's safe.
There are times when you don't really get the app-based cabs. Then what really happens when it comes to transport from here?
Since I travel in a car, I don't have an issue, and I find Calcutta is safer than other cities. It's too much crowded places are there, so it should be controlled. Polices and cameras should be installed so that proper care should be taken.
But why would the need for cameras be there, or say police patrolling, when it's a crowded place?
Crowded place, yeah, because anything can happen. There is molestation going on. Women actually don't feel safe when it's actually very crowded.
When it comes to, say, moving in the crowd, going by those shuttle, transport that you're looking at, then does it become unsafe?
See, I generally do avail public transport. So the issue with public transport, it has a time limit. So I can avail it up to say 9:30. Beyond 8 I don't get any buses. I can't board a normal bus because it's badly crowded. I usually opt for the AC buses. They are not there post 8:30. I have to opt for shuttles or cabs, right? So what happens is, yes, if I'm moving around in the streets, I am fine, but it is challenging to get a commute back home.
So while it is relatively safe for the employees working in Salt Lake or Rajarhat area, there are concerns when it comes to commuting to the heart of the city from the fringes, because it is not just about the fact that this part of the city is buzzing with activity, considering that offices are open till late, but what happens beyond that? What happens when you have to take public transport, or what happens when you do not get an app-based cab? With camera person Anshuman Roy in Kolkata, Prema Rajaram.
Ahead on the show, a status check of the public transport systems in 2 of India's biggest cities. How safe are the buses, taxis and metros in Delhi and Bengaluru? That's coming up. It's been 5 years since the December 16th gang rape. One of the reasons why Jyoti Singh was vulnerable to attack that night 5 years ago was Delhi's patchy public transport system. She and her friend were trying to get home. They got on a bus around 9 p.m. at night, that same bus on which she was brutalized, raped and finally thrown out of and left for dead. How have things changed for Delhi's public transport system in 5 years? CNN-News18's Deepa Rana reports.
I'm standing on the MG road, one of the arterial roads in the national capital that connects a number of places. This is a road that thousands of women take every day while going to work, while dropping their children to school, while traveling from one place to another. This is one road that connects various areas. But even as I'm reporting here on women's safety, I feel a sense of fear. When a woman takes up public transport in the national capital, no matter which transport you take, there is always a sense of fear. Do you feel anxious while traveling in the national capital alone in a public transport? Do you feel a sense of fear? Do you also keep the numbers of your loved ones in your speed dial, in your phone? Yes, there is a sense of fear.
It's not at all safe in Delhi. If it's before 7:38, I'm pretty much fine with everything. But once it's 8:30 or maybe 9, I don't feel safe in Delhi. Even if you're boarding a cab, you need to tell your family like, okay, मैं अब cab में बैठ गई हूँ, ये number है.
5 years after the Nirbhaya incident, the city's female commuters say that from buses to the metro, they've been harassed in all forms of public transport.
The other day, I was just traveling and as I was in auto, so there was this car which overtook the auto rickshaw, and after the auto rickshaw, again, seeing that the car has slowed down, it again went in front of the car, which again car overtook, and it happened a couple of times. Then later I thought, the last resort, I called 100 and they said, madam aap kahan pe hain? And after describing the location, they said, अरे ये हमारे area में नहीं आता है, so try again. So it is really scary for me, like working late hours. It is very difficult that every time I leave home, I have to inform my parents. I leave work, I have to inform my parents. I have to update them, and of course it is not that easy.
I can ask my camera person to just pan and show you. Here also I can just right now show you that how cars are being stopped or slowed because there are two girls standing on the road.
चंडीगढ़ में अभी रिसेंट आपको बताऊं तो रेप केस हुआ था, जैसे 5-6 गैंग ऑटो वालों का था, तो उन्होंने रेप कर दिया लड़की का.
सुन नहीं रहे हमारी कट लग गया था गलती से, अब गलती छोड़ेंगे.
आपने पी क्यों रखी है?
अरे मैं बहुत पीता हूँ, हम आपको नमस्ते करते हैं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. आज कलो मेरा
5 years after the brutal gang rape of Nirbhaya, various promises made by the Delhi government and the centre have fallen flat. We also did a ground check and found that the ground reality is very, very different as is perceived or seen by the Delhi government and the centre. It seems that more work is required before we can call Delhi safe for women. With video journalist Raju Khatri, this is Deepa Rana for CNN News 18 in New Delhi.
One of the first things an Indian woman learns is how to protect herself. We learn how to dress for safety, how to avoid making eye contact with strangers, how to keep our phones charged and within reach all the time. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes the measures that are meant to keep women safe end up making them more vulnerable. Stacey Pereira reports from Bengaluru.
I'm standing outside the Kempegowda metro station, one of the largest underground metros in the country. It is also part of the 400 crore intermodal transit centers which integrates the metro, city railway and inter and intra-city buses. It is supposed to boast of having the state-of-the-art technology. But how safe is this grand plan for women commuters? We are here to get a ground sense of the safety quotient in IT city Bengaluru.
Auto walas near my college, they do not come to the places where we call. They just stand here to stare at women. I think police and the government should take action towards it. I was in a Western outfit, so the way they were staring at me
and all, I felt really unsafe. I wouldn't feel safe traveling in a bus at 8 o'clock in the night. There's always a flip side to the coin, right? So of course it is safer because the woman can walk on the street and there are people. It's not like she's all alone entirely. If the people are good, then they're gonna help her eventually. But also there is a risk of it being like so late in the night, and you can never trust anybody anyway, right?
While many women felt this part of the city was better off in terms of safety, but they did hope that the government would install CCTV cameras in public spaces so that the women in Bengaluru at large feel safer. This has been a bold promise, and they hope that it will not be forgotten.
There's a proper transportation after 6 o'clock, and women is given proper safety CCTV cameras allotted, and there's a policeman at each and every location.
Police patrolling as well as CCTV. Both are required.
A CCTV camera must be put in all the entry and exit sites. For women's safety, it is more essential.
And while more CCTV cameras and police patrols would make some women feel safer, many others took it upon themselves to ensure that they do what it takes to remain away from prying eyes.
I will be dressed up differently because I don't want them to touch. Like, especially in metros and in public bus, there's a lot of much crowd, so there's too much of touching going on. Girls must have a pepper spray or something which can be useful to them. Every woman should learn at least a bit of self-defense so that when they're in a public place, by chance if something happens with them, they're able to defend themselves.
And if the pepper sprays or karate classes can't help you, these women believe that nothing but a change in mindset is what is really needed.
Safety is more a mental aspect. You cannot limit the space as it's bus stand, it's toilet, it's a library, etc. So the young men should be taught to respect right from class 1 to respect the other sex as well. They are human beings.
We are in India. They always say that you must have done something, then only they've come. So either way, even if it's not your fault, they're like, something you must have done. So I think this mindset should change from the home.
The government cannot change people. The people's mentality should change.
In the 5 years since Nirbhaya, India has seen a huge digital growth. How much is technology helping to keep women safe? Runjun Sharma does a status check.
In January 2015, the Delhi police launched the Himmat app to ensure the safety of women in the national capital. Now, in case of an emergency situation, this app sends an SOS message to your selected primary contacts and the police control room. But how effective is the Himmat app really? We'll just find out. हेलो
हेलो, मैं भी हिम्मत हेल्पलाइन से बोल रही हूँ। अभी पुलिस चाहिए आपको?
नहीं मेरे को चाहिए नहीं, मैं बस पूछने के लिए कर रही थी।
मैडम, आपको अगर जरूरत है तो वो कंप्लेंट करवा दो। कहाँ से बोल रहे हो?
नहीं जरूरत नहीं है, थैंक यू मैम।
ओके।
Well, that was pretty impressive. Within seconds of pressing the SOS button, I got a call from the police control room asking for my whereabouts, asking if I'm safe, asking if I need help. Well, this app I will definitely recommend to the ladies in the capital.
But 3 years on and the Himmat app still struggles to catch up with the women in Delhi. Why?
There's an app called the Himmat app. It was launched by the Delhi police 3 years back. आपको पता है उसके बारे में?
I don't know about the app. पहली बार मैं सुन रही हूँ, तो ये सबसे बड़ी खामी अगर मैं देखूँ तो हमारी जो सरकार है उसी की है कि वो इतनी अच्छी तरह से एडवर्टाइज़ नहीं कर पाई हैं कि लाइक जो कॉलेज के स्टूडेंट्स हैं उन तक वो ऐप पहुँच सके। और बहुत सारे लोगों को प्रॉब्लम होती है, तो इस तरह की जो परेशानियाँ रास्ते में लड़कियों को फेस करनी होती है तो उसे टैकल कर सकें।
Nirbhaya, fearless, a word that is burnt into India's collective consciousness because of what happened in Delhi on a cold December night 5 years ago. We end our show tonight with a tribute to her spirit and the hope of change for all of India's daughters.
क्यों मेरी नजरें झुकी, क्यों ना चलो